Hello all, welcome to this session. In this session, I'm going to answer one of the Java interview questions. That is, write a Java program to demonstrate exception handling. Let me answer this question with practical demonstration. Before we move on to the practical demonstration, we need to have some understanding about this exception handling mechanism that I'm going to demonstrate as an answer for this question. Okay, so what is an exception? We need to know first. What is an exception? It is nothing but a runtime. Exception is nothing but a runtime error, guys. Okay, so during the compile time of the program, before you run the program, during the compile time also, you will not get any compiler errors in the code. But when you run the code, while the code is getting executed during the runtime or during the execution time, if you are getting any error in the output, such kind of errors are called as exceptions in Java. Okay. So what is the problem with the exception is the next thing that you have to understand. Okay. In order to understand the Java program that I'm going to write to demonstrate this exception handling mechanism, first term that you have to understand is what is an exception? It's a runtime error which occurs, an error which occurs during the runtime, that is in the output while the program is running, whatever the errors that are getting, that is an exception you understood. But what is the problem with the exception? What is the problem with this exception? Is something you have to understand next to understand what is exception handling and why we have to perform exception handling. Okay, what is the problem with exception? The problem with the exception is whenever a particular exception comes during the runtime in the output at a particular line of code in the Java program, the program will stop there itself. In whatever the line the exception has occurred, there itself the program execution will stop. Remaining lines of code in the program, okay, remaining lines of code in the Java program after the exception occurs won't be executed. The program execution will stop in middle. Okay, will stop wherever the exception comes, right, in the program. There the program will stop, will halt, or it will not continue. Okay, because of that error, right, that is a runtime error or exception, right, the program will stop abruptly. Okay, and the remaining lines of code, okay, after that line that has caused the exception won't be executed. It will not be executed is the problem. So this is the root cause, or this is the problem. So how to solve this problem? In order to solve this problem, we have to handle the exceptions. We have to handle the exception. In the Java program, we have to handle the exception, and this concept is called as exception handling mechanism. How this exception handling mechanism will solve the problem by handling the exception. Okay, so in order to handle the exception in Java programs, okay, as part of exception handling mechanism, we have to use something known as try catch blocks. Okay, only one way in Java we have, okay, that we can use in Java to handle an exception or to implement this exception handling mechanism in the Java program. To solve this program where the program is stopping abruptly, where the line in the line where the exception has occurred, remaining line is not getting, remaining lines of code are not getting executed. To solve this program, no matter you get an exception, if you still want to continue the execution of the code, in that case, we have to handle the exception by implementing this exception handling mechanism with the help of only one technique, that is by using try catch blocks in Java. That is only possible to handle the exceptions. So I am going to demonstrate a program, okay, Java program, okay, which will demonstrate how to handle the exception by implementing this exception handling mechanism. Very simple example I will take. And these are the concepts you have to have the idea, guys, before answering this question. I'm not saying that you have to explain what is an exception. You have to explain what is the problem with the exceptions. You have to explain what is exception handling. You don't have to explain all this stuff. You have to write a program. But if you want to write a program with a proper understanding in your mind, you'll be able to answer the question in the interviews in a better way. That's the reason I covered all this stuff, guys. Now let's go on to the straightforward answer that you have to give in the interviews. And if required, while writing the program, you can explain according naturally whenever the opportunity occurs. Okay. So here I'm going to create a new class. I'll simply name this class. You can give any name for this class. I'll just give the name as exception handling demo, I'll say, okay, some demo name with main method I'm creating. And once the class with the name, this particular random name got created and with the main method gets created, right? Okay, I'll just increase the font here, Control++ in Eclipse IDE. Here, I'm going to write some code, guys, okay? So I'll write a code which will result in an exception, okay? But in the compile time, while writing the code, before running the code, you will not see anything. So what I want to do is, I would like to say int a is equal to some 10. Int a is equal to 10, guys, okay? I created one variable and I initialized that particular variable with the value 10. After that, I would like to say scanner is equal to new scanner I'll write. Okay, scanner is equal to new scanner I'll write. And why I'm writing scanner, I would like to collect some input from the user. That's the reason I'm writing the scanner. You will understand the program later. Okay. So, or if you want me to explain in a simplest way, I'll not go to the scanner class. Here I'll write int a is equal to 10, comma, or here you can write int b is equal to 0. Okay, then int c is equal to a divided by b. System.out.println c. System.out.println c. And here I'll write down system.out.println end of this program. End of this program. Okay. So what will happen if I run this code? Okay, this is very simple program, guys. Okay. So are you getting any compiler error? You see, Eclipse IDE is very smart editor that whenever you write the code inside the Eclipse IDE in a Java file, automatically it will compile the code. You don't have to compile manually from the command line. When you write the code in these editors like Eclipse IDE in the Java files and all those stuff, the code that is being written is automatically getting compiled. Even though you say single character also, that is automatically compiled in Eclipse IDE editor. You see the code has been compiled and do you see any errors? If I remove this semicolon, you see immediately Java compiler will give you error. How? Because of the compilation is happening automatically. Again, if I put the semicolon back, again compiling is happening and there are no compiler errors. That doesn't mean that this code is error free. Okay, we cannot say that this code is error free. Why? Because compiler errors are not there. Syntax errors or some rules and regulations of Java violation are not there in this code. But when I run the code, you just see the output, guys. You will get an error in the output. During the runtime, we'll get an error. You see already in red color, we got an error. Exception in thread main, arithmetic exception. What is the reason behind that? You are trying to divide a number by 0. In mathematics also, if you try to divide a number by 0, they'll call it as infinite loop. And in Java, it is not possible to store an infinite value into a variable. Okay, that's the reason you are getting divide by 0. Okay, for that reason, you are getting arithmetic exception. Exception is nothing but a runtime error. At the line 9, okay, at the line 9, you got the exception, and because of which the code that is followed by this particular, okay, the code that is followed by this line which is giving an exception has not been executed. You see, once the error has come in the 9th line, 10th line, 11th line, nothing got executed. No matter how many lines are there, they will not get executed. If I write this 5 times or 10 times also, you will not see any output here. End of this program will not be printed. Okay, because of the exception here, you see, exception is coming means the program will stop abruptly in the line where the exception has come. You see, in this particular line where you are trying to divide a, which is 10, by the value 0, any number if you try to divide by 0 in Java will give you a runtime error in the output. That is nothing but an exception, a runtime error. In this case, it is mathematical related error that is coming in the output. That is why arithmetic exception. Okay, in mathematics, we have an arithmetic topic, right? You are trying to divide a number by 0. That's the reason you got the exception. So how to handle this exception? How to handle this exception? Whatever the code that is giving you an exception, what happens when the code runs is A will be assigned with 10, B will be assigned with 0, and C, A divided by B. This line is giving an exception. Exception means nothing but an object of a predefined class in Java, guys. What is a predefined class for which this statement is throwing an object of that? Arithmetic exception is a predefined class. For this arithmetic exception class, okay, an object will be created and that object will be thrown to the JVM which is running this code. Once the JVM receives the object of this arithmetic exception class, JVM will immediately stop the execution of the code wherever the line, the exception or the object of that particular exception is thrown from the code. Remaining lines will not be executed. That's the reason. To overcome this problem, we have to divert this particular object which is thrown for that arithmetic exception to the JVM. It should not direct that object that is created at this line 9 to the arithmetic, JVM. Okay, object of the arithmetic exception, we don't have to divert that to the, we don't have to send it to the JVM. Rather, we have to divert it to another location. For that, only way in Java is use try catch blocks. Okay, right? Try whatever the statements that are related to the exception. You see, what is the use if this operation is not possible? If you are trying to divide a number by 0, you will not get the result, right? You are getting an error here. Okay, what is the use of printing? That's why I'm writing these 2 lines inside the try block. And in the catch block, what is the object of this particular class that is being thrown here when you're trying to divide a number by 0? Arithmetic exception is a class. That class name you provide in the catch block here. Arithmetic exception E. You can give any variable name here. That's okay. I'm just giving E. It's an object reference. Hover the mouse on the arithmetic exception and import it. Okay, there is a mistake here. Arithmetic exception. Some spelling mistake. Now I correct. You don't have to import it actually. It's from java.lang package, which is a default package in Java. You don't have to import. Other exceptions you have to import. But arithmetic exception, which is from the default package in Java, no need to be imported. That's fine. Here I'll simply write down system.out.println. Okay. Exception got handled. I'm printing a statement, exception got handled. And to give the details of the exception, I'll simply say plus E. That's it. This object reference, I'll print it out. Now let me tell you what is happening in the program and how using the try catch blocks. I told you, right? Using try catch blocks, you can handle the exception or implement this exception handling mechanism, because of which this problem will be solved where the program will not stop there in the line where the exception has occurred. Rather, the remaining lines of code will continue the execution. Okay. So here A is assigned with 10, B is assigned with 0. Int C is equal to A divided by B. That is 10 divided by 0. This will throw an object of arithmetic exception class. This time that object will not be thrown to the JVM. And from the try block will divert that object to the catch block. And in the catch block, if a respective object reference declared with that particular class which can capture that particular object of that exception is there, means arithmetic, there is an object of the arithmetic exception, right? That can be assigned to the object reference of the or variable of the arithmetic exception class. So proper class is there. It will capture it here and will go inside the catch block where exception handling will happen. And instead of the JVM stopping the program, here catch block will take the advantage of this particular object thrown by this statement and simply print exception got handled with the exception details. But the program will not stop here, and remaining lines of the code, end of this program, end of this program, end of this program, end of this program, end of all the kind of code which is coming after this exception has occurred in this line will continue the execution. You will just see this time, you see, the program will not stop abruptly this time. You see, exception, the catch block exception got handled. This arithmetic exception divided by 0 got printed. You see, the exception handling has been done and remaining all statements got executed. The program has continued with the execution. The end of this program got printed. But tell me guys, why a particular person has to, while writing the code, they already know that the value of A is 10 and they know that the value of B is 0. And they already know that you cannot divide a number with 0 in Java. Who will intentionally give the value 0 here? Okay, this kind of programs are nonsense programs, guys. Okay, even though I can show this program as an example, if the interviewer asks me to write a Java program to demonstrate exception handling, I can show this program. But there's some problem in this program that who will intentionally try to divide a number by 10 by 0? We already know that, it will give an exception. So what I will do is I'll make this program realistic, where exactly in real time, why we need to handle these exceptions, why people, developers of this program will not intentionally give this value 0, guys. Okay. So what I will do here is I will collect the input from the user then. Okay. The Java program also doesn't know that there's a possibility of value 0 that can be assigned to the variable B and that can result in arithmetic exception. It doesn't know that. Okay. So new scanner like this, it is what is real time, guys. No one will intentionally try to divide a number by 0. Definitely will get arithmetic exception. But in what cases we have to use this try catch block? Whenever you come across a program where, you try to collect the input from the user. Okay. And, Here, instead of 0 directly assigning 0, scanner dot next int, I'll say next int, scanner dot next int. And I'll collect the input from the user, integer input from the user using the scanner object dot next int. This will collect the input from the user during the runtime. And here I'll help the user in entering the number. Enter any number. Okay, enter any number, I'll say. Now at the end of the program, you can close the scanner object, scanner dot close. Anyhow, we have implemented the try catch block, no matter if you are trying to divide a number by 0, also the program execution will continue. And when you run the code, guys, you see, it will ask the user to enter any number. If the user enters a proper number, let's say 1, if you try to divide 10, you see the value 1 will go into B and A will contain 1. A divided by B, 10 divided by 1. How many times you can divide 10 by 1? 10 times. So the value of C, 10 will be printed here. When you say 1, the value of C, 10 will be printed. No exception will come and the end of this program will be printed. You see 110 end of this program. This is a positive case of the program. What if I give any other number? I can give multi other numbers, guys. What if I give 2 means 2 can divide this 10 5 times, 5 number of times. So 5 and end of this program. This is also positive case. What if I give 10, let's say 3 times, 3 can divide 10 3 times only, remainder 1 will come anyhow. So if you try to divide this number by 5, let's say 2 times, 2 is coming as output end of this program. But what if in case the user enters to divide this number by 0, if in case the user enters 0 as an input here, this 0 will go into the variable B and the number 10 will be divided by 0 and that will result in, this is a random case, you have to think so. Everyone will think that user will give a proper positive number only. We are asking a number, so user will not give 0, we may think. But what if the user gives 0? Then we have to handle the exception. Not always the user will enter 0. There may be some situations where user may wrongly enter 0 here and 10 divided by 0 may happen, and because of which there is a possibility of an exception in this particular line. That's why we have to handle this exception. It's not really required if the user enters a proper number here, okay? If the user unexpectedly or intentionally gives the number 0 in the output, there's a possibility that in this particular line, you are trying to divide a number by 0, and because of it, this line may throw an arithmetic object of the arithmetic exception and JVM will stop the execution of the code, okay? So that's the reason we have to handle in advance this kind of statements where there is a possibility of a arithmetic exception if in case the user enters 0 in the output. If the user enters 0, you see, exception got handled. Java, despite of the exception, the program execution has been continued, okay? So no one will try to forcibly write the Java program by giving 10 divided by 0, guys. That is not going to happen. It may happen this kind of real-time case, okay, where you're trying to collect some input from the user and user is entering something. Java developer is not intentionally trying to break the program. Rather, the user input is being given where instead of proper number, 0 is being given by the user input, and that results in an arithmetic exception. One of the possibility of the code where this line will result in arithmetic exception, object of the arithmetic exception to be thrown in the output during the runtime and all. To overcome that, we'll handle the exception and catch block will handle the exception and program execution will continue. So hope guys, you got the idea what exactly is an exception, what is, what is the problem with an exception, why we have to handle the exceptions using exception handling mechanism, and the only way to handle is using try catch blocks. Okay, in real time, how the exception may come. Okay, this kind of scenario where the exception is only one example. There may be multiple examples where the exceptions may happen in real time, but this is a very simple and sweetest example. Okay, you can give as an answer in the interviews. Okay. So with this scanner class and all, if you write the program, the interviewer will get completely impressed. Okay. So guys, if you want to practice this code, you can take a screenshot of this code and just halting for a while. Hope you have taken the screenshot of this code. So with practical demonstration, I have written a Java program to demonstrate you what exactly is exception handling. Okay. And all its concepts I covered in this along with the answer too, so that you have a good learning from this session. Okay. So that's all for this session. Thank you. Bye-bye.